My name is Rich Schmidt. I'm here with Thomas Savre. It's at Lingua Franca, August 9th, 2019. Thanks so much for joining us today. Let's start with the important question, which is why wine?
I love wine. What's not to be loved into this thing, you know? Why wine? I grew up in northeast of France, an hour and a half away from Germany. Family's from Burgundy. And I went to medical school for a couple of years, and that didn't work out the way I wanted to, so I had to redirect my career. And I was like, well, you know, I was in this moment in my life, and my parents were talking about, oh yeah, you need to do long career type of study, and you know, you look at law school and all this thing, and then I was like, no, it's not the thing I want to do. And I've been a little wine nerd since I'm 15, because in France we can have access to wine at an early age. I hope they can change this country. That would be great. And I was like, I'm gonna do something fun and some things that I love. Why would I just do something that I'm not sure about? So I went to Dijon and just went to University of Wine, UVV, Jules Guyot, where I studied a bachelor in viticulture, and then I kept going, and I just did a master in viticulture and master in winemaking, and that's wine. That's where wine started. You know, I just like it. It's fun. It's like the things that is. You have agriculture, and you have making, and you have sales. It's a very unique industry. Yeah.
When you mentioned being interested in it from 15 or so, what was it about it that originally appealed to you?
Well, as I said, you know, my dad is from Burgundy, and so I have this, you know, cultural attachment to the source of the grapes, and my grandparents are really good friends with winemakers and wine growers in Burgundy, and some of my family members are really close to some of them too. And so I was like, okay, every Sunday, you know, since I'm a kid, I'm just seeing all these bottles of wine open, and it's kind of this trophy on the table. Oh, this is good. This is good vintage, and it's very something pretty fascinating when you just start really early. You know, I was getting probably a taste when I was a kid, 6 years old. Just can I taste? You know, and then my granddad has a cellar, and I was just let's have a cellar for myself. I did my little spot in my granddad's cellar, and then I get a subscription on the equivalent of Wine Spectator in France, and all this thing, and just it became kind of a hobby for me. And I just realized, wow, it's super interesting. There is so many region. It's you grow so much. It's a big part of the agriculture in France. Actually, it's funny, but it's I think when I was in school, we're said that it's 5% of the agricultural surface in France, but it carry the second biggest export income for France after plain sales. Wine. Interesting. So it's a big thing, you know, and as I said, it's very unique and complete, from agriculture to sales to making to it's a great industry.
You mentioned going to school and then sort of staying in school and getting continuing education. Tell me about your educational experience and then why you chose to continue it.
You mean in the wine industry?
Yeah, so you went to college and you got master's degrees.
I think that you know, it's also my personality. I can never stop, you know, and so I just was learning about viticulture, and I'm like, what's after viticulture? And so I was like, okay, let's talk about how to make wine, and then. You know, you had a bachelor, and then after bachelor's, you have a master's, and after master's, you have a PhD. I'm glad I didn't do a PhD. But it's I did 2 masters. It was a lot of work, but it was fun. And education, you just keep learning, and at one point there was a ceiling. You're just okay, so I feel like I'm okay. Theory, I understand what's going on. And then that's where you I would say you hit the wall, because in theory you know a lot, but the practice is very, very important. And I think that's a big message for the whole industry. People my age, or I would say like younger, that are just going to come in the industry. It's like we go to school and we learn a lot, and we just think that we're ready. We're not. You're never ready. Every year there's something new.
So tell me about that. Tell me about the practice. Tell me about getting into actually doing wine.
Well, so I started with a disadvantage a little bit, because coming from medical school, a lot of people that I met in my bachelor degree in viticulture already had a technical degree and worked in wine and vineyards since like a couple of years already. So for me, I just came I was meeting all these great people that just knew how a pump works, how a press works, and for me I was like, I don't know anything about that. So what I did is I was trying to mix experiences during harvest, and also during the weekend, and go to working places. Burgundy, Dijon is just north of Côte d'Or, so it's in the Côte d'Or, but north of other wine region, right? So I was able to go and work harvest and meet people, and then so I was learning as it goes, and then I was very fortunate to work in very good estates and all this in Burgundy, and trying to work towards people that are very close to the hearse, small family-oriented winery. Before I went to California and I worked for a very large one.
Before we get to that, we'll talk about you getting to the United States. I'm curious, between the theory you were learning and then the practice you actually did, what were the biggest differences? What was it that you were unprepared for that you had to get your hands on?
You're never prepared to work in a cellar, I think. You know the theory, but you have every cellar are very different. You have to adapt yourself. There is basic techniques, but you need to adapt yourself about which one you're gonna make, how is this gonna flow. The whole wineries that I design here is based on just a flow of how we would make this wine. Some other winery wouldn't like to work here, and so the theory, you know a lot, but you have to be very much open on how the practice is going to be into it. But once again, I think there is no right or wrong. A lot of people start practicing and then study, and there is people that do the theory and then practice, and there's some people that try to do both at the same time, and I think that it's a symbiosis. You have to do both. If not, it's not going to work well.
So tell me about the decision to come to America. How did you end up in California?
In California. Okay, so what happened is when I decided not to go to medical school, I had to take a little time to just charge the battery, understand what was going on, And then my uncle lives in New York, and I just left. I went to New York to spend 6 months in New York with my uncle in 2007. I liked a lot the people in the US, the diversity, the entrepreneurship, something was very great about this country. And so that experience, I was okay, let's I'm gonna go back to France, and I would like to do maybe an internship 1 year somewhere else. And so whenever I had the opportunity to do this 2 master's degree at once, I only found one place in the world that was able to kind of allow me to do this cool research. And so I decided to go to work for Gallo. And the reason why I did it is because I think that I've always been working for small, family-oriented estates. And then I was if I don't see the big one, even though I'm not going to really want to work for it, I'm going to regret it. And the context of working for them was focusing on research. And my degrees were research. So I went, and I was amazing. Well, I met my wife. That's also a reason why I came here. Because the reason why I'm in the US is because of a beautiful American woman. So you can't.
It's a good reason to come. Yeah.
Yeah, and then so yeah, we were in Modesto, and Amy, my wife, she's from Arkansas, and she is food scientist, specialized in sensory, and then she did her internship there, and then I think clicked, and then we decided to first of all stay together, which was great, and then after that we did a long distance relationship for a while, and then I was like, well, California is great, but we lived in Modesto, and sorry guys, it was just like Oregon might be better for us. And a lot of attraction to the Burgundian being here and the smaller community, and I've tasted quite a bit of wine from Oregon, as I was not enough, but a little bit there and there. And one wine brought me here. Yeah, one.
And what was that?
So in 2012, was the year after my experience at Gallo, I was very fortunate to work at Domaine de la Romanée-Conti for a year and a change. I don't know if you know how harvest work, but at least how harvest work with me, it's like we set a good lunch table, we open a couple of bottles of wine, just relax, spend time together. It's a very, very tough, harvest is very tough, and we work a lot. So we decided so that's what we do, and work hard, play hard type of thing. And at DRC, we were pressing the red, and I came on Saturday morning, and at 10 in the morning, there was a snack time where you just cut some saucisson and pâté and a little glass of wine. So they gave me the key of their cellar, where they have collection of exchange bottle. And I found 2 bottles of wine. I found a Rhone Valley white wine, and then I found a Christam 95 Marjorie Vineyards. I open it, I put a sock around it, and I blind taste people, and it was absolutely amazing. And so I was like, okay, this is it. This is another mark for me. It's like, I want to come here. So that was the wine. Thanks to Steve Donner, who's now a good friend of mine. Yeah.
A neighbor.
And he also makes his own personal wine here.
Oh, really?
And, yeah. So it's very interesting how this industry is bring people together, and
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So before we get back to Oregon, I'm curious about your experience at Gallo. You mentioned research base. So what were you working on at Gallo?
I cannot say.
Oh.
Unfortunately.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was interesting. It was great. It was based on maturity, different project, but their research is very involved into a lot of different things, and they cover so many acreage, and they always trying to learn. This is the best research and development, probably viticulture and winery lab in the whole planet. So that was very interesting, and I'm sorry.
It's okay?
Yeah.
So tell me about you made the decision to come to Oregon. So tell me about what happens next.
After Oregon?
How did you find your way to Oregon? How did you find a spot to be here?
So what I did is when I was an intern at Romanée-Conti, I decided to talk to Aubert de Villaine, and I asked him. A lot of people kind of push me to say what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I want to make Pinot Noir and Chardonnay, and they're really frank to me. It's like, you're not going to be able to make it in Burgundy. And I was just like, really? It's like, that's not cool. And the reason why they were right, and that was the truth. It's like I don't have families that own vineyards, and more it's harder and harder to get holdings, and even starting something from scratch by buying fruit, it's absolutely complicated. So I was already dating Amy at this time, and then I was pretty interested in coming back to do an internship. And so did some research, taste all this wine, and I was like, why not? Oregon can be fun. I did a lot of research, and I learned a lot of things. You go and oh yeah, this is the same latitude as Burgundy. No, this is actually not. Oregon is not in the same latitude of Burgundy.
Okay.
And where we are here. We're in the same latitude of Bordeaux, which is amazing, right? So it's all marketing thing, But I love the connection with Burgundy, with the Drouin family, with other people, and then Aubert de Vienne was very kind of saying like, well, there is so many great wineries that I know, like Adelsheim, and so I send letters, resume, email, letters, and I applied for like around like 12 harvest position. But what I did, I broke my piggy bank and I said I want to come here, and if I come here I want to stay, so I'm going to come in person. So I come in person and I met probably like 95% of the people you interview, and then I had 2 great offers as an intern, and one was to work for Laurent Montelieu, and one was from working for Eveningland. And so I decided to go to Eveningland just because, I don't know, for me it was a very the Chardonnay thing kind of. It's like, there is some Chardonnay and they seem to make really good Chardonnay. So I wanted to like learn more about that. And I came to work for Eveningland with Isabelle Meunier, and under her, it was a great experience. A few changes happened at the time, and you just grow in your career, and at one point I think I was just ready. I was just like, I met Larry Stone and this guy.
So tell me about the experience at Eveningland. Tell me about your kind of initial impressions of Oregon and the wine industry there.
So first of all, I realized that diversity of like climate between sub-AVAs. It was very clear to me, like Dundee was different than McMinnville, different than like Chelan Mountain, Ribbon Ridge, and Yosemite Hills. That was just really interesting for me. And I'm always my baseline, remember, it's in California, and work for like very wide range. At least for where I was working, for Gallo was very like big farm and ranches. So I found already something that I liked that was like more estate driven, like lower vineyards holding, etc. Then Seven Springs, it's such a cool vineyard. Like it's like planted in the 80s, and to me, that shows like the history of viticulture in Oregon, because you can walk. There is vineyard planted in the 80s, there was planted in the 90s, in 2000, and it's coming from different vineyard management company, different vineyard managers. So it's basically a different brain that came at different time of the history of Oregon that say, okay, let's do that. And it's this vineyard is like amazing. It's like a paint of like, it's like a time frame of like how Oregon just like. So that was really cool. And then I saw some mistakes that have been done, and some things that's diseases and stuff like we have here, and phylloxera and all this stuff. And and then I realized there was soil differences, and then you just kind of start, and then you just observe, and then just Chardonnay was great because in 2013 a lot of people were making Chardonnay. Don't make me wrong, but I think that Chardonnay is definitely like in a very big like. So working under Isabelle and Dominique Lafont, who worked there as a consultant, was amazing because I was able to see a little bit what was going on in Chardonnay that made in a different way.
How do you mean a different way?
Well, it's something that I like to say here, and I had a hard time to define it when I'm talking about it, but it's making Oregon wine with a French soul. It's like it's it's really going to making Oregon wine, but you always try to make wine first. I think you like to drink, I hope, and then also like you have just such an idea of the grapes and what it become, and we like wine with freshness, acidity, whatever people call minerality. What it means that this is like saltiness in the wine, and that's been achieved with some very specific vineyard techniques, growing season, and winemaking as well.
So when you're at Eveningland, tell me about what Eveningland was trying to present. What was an Eveningland wine supposed to be? Like, you talk about Seven Springs, one of the more famous vineyards around. So what were you trying to make? It's very
like, I think Eveningland is and like others, and I think it's a model that a lot of people try to reproduce here, and I respect that. It's as winemakers, we just a piece that translates the place to. We need in the wine to taste the place. It's so hard. It's like you need to farm very well, the best you can, and then we're just a guardian here to just make sure like it's okay, everything goes well. I mean, there is a lot of technique. We work a lot, but you just need to like respect the grapes from the place and bring them in there into that. So I think eveningland and what we're trying to achieve here, it's very much like respect of the place, you know. And there's so many different places. So
tell me about finding your way to Lingua Franca and what appealed to you about this project.
Well, that was crazy, and that is still crazy. That's fun. So 2014, I was working under eveningland. The change happened, and I was working under Rash Bar and Sashi Morman, and then we were to IPNC. I met Larry, and then drinking amazing wines like we do very often, which is great. And met Larry and said, "Oh, I met the owner of Romanée Conti. You were working there." I'm like, "Well, I was an intern." That's like, and then he said, "Okay, great, and very nice," and you know that's how we kind of introduce ourselves. And then I was working at Seven Springs, pruning the vineyard with a crew because I like to go to the vineyard as much as I can. It's harder and harder, but it's very important for me to spend time there. And then I was pruning with a crew, and I literally like saw Larry's vineyard growing. And I'm curious, I just couldn't stop, and I just asked Raj, like, can you give me Larry's contact? I just want to check out what he's doing here, you know, it seems pretty interesting. And so I contacted Larry, and then he was in town, and 3 days after, he's like, well, let's have dinner in Macmillanville. And so there was Larry and David Honig, his partner. We're just like, well, very casual conversation. What are you doing? What do you want to do? And, you know, and at one point I was just like, well, I'm ready to take on a project. Why not? You know, and slowly but surely, and called me December 24th of 14, and he's like, well, do you want to make wine next year? I'm like, yeah, sure. And then it took a little while to set it up, and we in May 1st of 2015, he said, okay, we don't have grapes, we don't have barrels, we don't have a cellar, but let's make wine. I'm like, I was very excited, and then everything was like, wow. And then we're building a winery. I'm like, whoa. Well, we built this winery, and we have a beautiful vineyard, and then that beautiful team. And it's been some very challenging but amazing to like work from scratch up. Dominique Lafont came on board as a consultant and a partner, and trying to work hard every day to just trying to, you know, make everything we can to get all this fruit from the vineyard coming here and the best out of it, you know. We cannot make good omelette with rotten eggs, so this needs to be amazing. Yeah.
So you talk about from scratch. So I'm curious, like that first year especially, how did you sort of cobble together what you needed to make wine without really a facility or
I don't remember. I do. It's my secret sauce? No, I don't know. It just, you know, I think the great thing about the chance that I have is like I didn't get to be, not that I don't like to do this thing, I love it. It's great to speak about what happened in the last 5 years, but, you know, when you start something, nobody knows what you're doing. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows like anything. And so you just start, and then you don't have any kind of disturbing or parasite or whatever things that don't allow you to do your day job, right? So we didn't sell wine at the time because we didn't have wine to sell. So I want to say the first year and a half, I was just like 150% on the wine. And that's when we started to like put this wine in bottle, starting to like sell wine, starting to be, you know, more So that was kind of a chance. I think that was great to do that.
Just be able to focus on just,
Well,
just the one thing.
we didn't have the chance. I mean, we just by nature, we didn't have anything else to do. By just, Larry was like branding and starting to like say, well, our wine is going to be available, but you cannot show the wine before it's finished, right? So there was no point for us to like start like going out and just say, oh, let's taste some barrel sample. The idea was just to like say slowly and surely. So that allowed me to organize really well the first year, and then allow me to like design this winery and with an architect and make sure all my brain was focused on that for sure.
So tell me about designing the winery. What was it you were looking for? Why the design as it is?
It's a very, very, the way I see it, it's a very efficient flow. I visited so many wineries and I tried to look at them and the result of this winery for me, and I want to say thank you to a lot of wineries that have been built here, and they were very nice enough to share some. We would have not done that, and I had an idea in my mind, but it really came to start with like something efficient. It's a production place, and trying to think in a way that the way we approach our winemaking very nicely. The idea is to make premium wine, ultra premium wine, whatever you call them, like in the best way possible, with no issue, no problem, no like restriction. So the crush pad is outside, the vineyard is on the estate, the crush pad is outside cover, so everything that is ready to fruit is outside. This floor plan here is very open, as you can see, and we have 2 barrel room, one for white, one for red, and very easy. No gravity flow. It's just there is a little bit of height differences just because of the way we process, but it's very, very, very efficient. And the reason why I also did that is because nobody knew like where we're going in terms of like when you build a winery. With the architect, we're discussing as like what is going to be your white versus red, and I was like, I put a number there, but it was not correct. Things change, so I said we need to have a versatile place that this thing can move easily. So yeah, it's the thing we missed is like I don't regret anything that have been done here. I think the only thing that could have been beneficial for the brand is having a place to taste wine. It's all like we have to like work on each other because we need to sell the wine, of course. But it's gonna change. It's gonna be great. So I mean, for me, I was just like, I didn't realize it, but I'm very fortunate to have done that because a lot of winemakers in their career, they don't have the chance to do that. And I've done that. I was 28, and it's like I had a lot of pressure, but also like very well surrounded, very well like Larry Stone and David Honig and Dominique Laffoine, the architect is amazing too, and so it's like I was very well surrounded to not make mistake. Yeah, and it was a challenge in 16 because we made one here, but we didn't have doors, and this tank here came the day before we got fruits.
It's good timing.
Very good timing. Very good timing. But it was it's just great, and it became also something that we were not thinking about doing, but we did. It's doing a custom crush activity, and it's a big part of our business now. So the things that I've developed here, I see these tanks cannot be empty. For me, it's we can't do that. It's just a function of the enterprise, right? So we make that much wine, and we have that much room. So the difference is we need to sell the space. And I was like, this is one of the coolest, newest, hopefully well-made winery in the valley, and I was selling a service and say, hey, this is the wine we make, and if you want to make a wine that has the same idea around, you have room here. So we have today amazing people here that make wine, great partners, and this collaboration, it's a lot of work, but it allows a team that I work with, Kimberly and Joe, I think that help us to like learn, to grow, and to, the collaborative idea is it's an incubator, just like there's too much secret in the wine. We should just talk more about it, being honest with what we're doing, and just say, okay, this is it. We press, we do that. Sometimes there is a mistake, sometimes it's not as good as we want, but having other people that do things allows us to understand better our process and hopefully make better wine. Yeah.
When we saw the facility yesterday, one of the things I was intrigued by was the eaves that Larry pointed out, all of the outside covered space. Tell me about that and the decision to do that, if you can remember.
Well, I can remember, but I don't know. It's always this tricky part with Larry.
Okay.
But for me, the eave outside. Do you mean the eave like on the outside?
Where like the caskets are, or the casks are.
Yeah, the function of it. At least when I wanted to, just to cover the tank, put shade, and make sure like we have that. Make sure we have that figured out to storage and
Sure.
Yeah. But there is way more different functions that are cool here. Oh yeah. We try to everything is very everything is made in a way that everything going through almost internet. It's all it's going through internet. So we have different temperature control that's going in my phone. Kim, who is the assistant winemaker, integrate some system to everything is basically on barcode, and it's great. It's we only 3 here to basically make around 20,000 cases of wine, and we work a lot, but it's very efficient because we follow up on a lot of things, and it's a beautiful space to make wine. I'm very lucky.
Sure.
And people that make wine, they're lucky too.
Yeah, just a second. We'll just let people wander through. So you mentioned a little bit earlier that you talked about the importance of the vineyard and kind of your role. So how would you describe your winemaking philosophy? What is it you're trying to do as a winemaker?
It's always I don't like this title because I don't think, it's a reflection of what I've done here is I was selling wine at one point. It's like I was a startup. It's like being a big part of a startup. I've done a lot of different things, and more it's my role is defined more towards, I don't know, production things. I hate the title of winemaker. It doesn't make sense to me because it's we have to go in the vineyard, and if you don't go to the vineyard, you just, I don't understand how can you make the wine. I don't understand. And in winemakers, that there is no vineyard term that resonates. So I don't know. It's for me, my role today is to make sure that it's all everything that falls under production, and making sure this vineyard is going the best way we want, and it's for years to come. We hired a vineyard manager who is fantastic last year, so we trying to put an in-house. It's going to change a lot of things for us, and in the winery, just it's direct the philosophy and trying to sometimes I cannot explain everything. There's choice of where we do that. Sometimes it's by experience. Sometimes it's learning, and I just it's trying to make sure all this process is flowing all together, and also being a good manager, trying to work with people, learning. I'm my advantage, my disadvantage is being young. It's being young. It's who I am to be a mentor, for someone. But at the same time, I feel I hope the people that I work with every day is to just learn from me, and then they learn from what they're doing, and they participate as much as they can, and trying to break a lot of things between, this is a winery, this is a vineyard, and trying to make sure everybody understand and participate into the process.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So you've been with Lingua Franca for pretty much from the start.
I was the first employee, very first one.
So tell me what makes it unique. What is it you're striving for here that's unique? What does Lingua Franca stand for?
Well, as Larry probably told you, it's means universal language, which I think it's a great way to it's a great umbrella below which we have so many different people coming from so many different places that bring something here. David Honig, former attorney, finance guy, then Dominique Lafont from France, myself being younger than Larry. You talked to him yesterday, so you're gonna have to watch his interview.
You couldn't possibly sum him up in a couple of words.
You can't.
So no.
You can't sum it. It's okay. But that's him. So it's Lingua Franca. It's something unique because it's such a great project. It started from everything from scratch. Think about it. It's not like someone did an acquisition of a winery and a vineyard and changed the name or whatsoever. It's like we started from zero. The vineyard, I'm the first one to have made, this one is the first vintage from this vineyard. It's amazing. The winery is Lingua Franca is just put that out of the ground, and I think it's a combination of a lot of experiences. The way how Larry planted the vineyard, the idea of how we're going to farm this vineyard. This vineyard is farmed organic, never seen an herbicide, and it's, Mimi Cassé was involved and helped us and helped me to make sure we were spending enough time and effort and thought into the development of this place. So, the unicity of it is always complicated to explain, but for me it's always coming from, we literally started, we were very fortunate. Nothing was here before. You bought the land, planted a vineyard, built a wine. It's cool.
Just like that.
And we only have 3 vintages on the market, and it's going fast. And it's Larry's baby. It's something he really wanted to do. He became my baby too, by extension, But it's amazing that he had this idea, and just this land is available, and I'm going to be able probably to get it, and close to some of the best vineyards in the area. And we started in 15 with buying grapes from everywhere, right? And then we started in 16, and the more we go, we almost 90% estate. The only fruit we buy is from Mimi Castile, Hopewell for Pinot Noir, Chardonnay. So we still have to purchase fruit, but it's great.
So you talked about Larry quite a bit, obviously, as sort of one of the brainchild of this project here. Tell me about working for him. First of all, why do you think he chose you to be his first employee on this project?
Because I'm taller than him. Just kidding. No. The reason it's hard to say. I don't know. I think he sees in me maybe being young, and I think he was. My resume was, I was very lucky. I worked in some very amazing places, and I think that really helped me to be quickly where I am right now. Still have to prove myself every day, but it's been awesome to have been working for the Dujac family and at Romanée Conti. That really opened me some doors. And I think that the connection with him being me. I didn't work at Eveningland because Larry was already gone, but I worked there, and so this interesting connection with Eveningland, who he started with Mark Taloff, that brought a lot of I think idea in his mind is he knows a little bit what's going on. When I started here, I already knew the area here, and then I see the vineyard growing, and here I am. Yeah.
And between him and Dominique Lafont, obviously some pretty well-known people in the wine world that are partners in this enterprise. So tell me about, you mentioned kind of the pressure of being young in this kind of project. Yeah. Tell me about how that kind of manifests for you. How is it working in this kind of environment?
You mean with? I think, I don't know. I'm trying to I think the world of wine is very. There's a lot of winemakers that have a lack of humility, and I'm trying to. I don't know. In my culture, it's not very. In France, it's not. There's not a lot of people like that. You know, I think we're not doctors, we're not surgeons. We don't save people. We actually make them very drunk. I mean,
sure,
we do at the end of the day, right? So, I think for me, or if not very drunk, I hope they enjoy. You know, but I think that for me, my I don't know. I think trying to be humble towards what we're trying to create, and trying to like avoid like all the parasite around, you know, this industry that is very like ego and like, you know, the winemaker, like the trophy, the king. This is not my thing. This thing I just want. We need to make that the best, and it's very easy to screw it. And so it's a lot of work, but yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's just for me, it's past me. You know, I think now we went through. I mean, I don't know. When I was at Romane Conti, I opened some doors, and that's maybe why I'm not scared. It's like I was there and I realized like they have 30 hectares of Grand Crus. That's it. So you don't drop one drop of wine on the ground. It's like you can't. It's just the respect. The amount of time, effort, labor that centuries that was like put in these vineyards is you just do. I mean, I don't know. There is a form of aura around them that just said, no, you have to be very careful, and you really quickly realize it. And the way they are as people too. These people are just like, well, this land it's sacred, you know, it's something coming from wherever we don't know. We have it. It's probably the best thing we can have, and we want to make and translate something amazing. We're nothing, you know. It's like we have to like make sure this is going well, and there's so much challenge, you know, with global. I mean, the climate change and you know the heat. You know, the heat last year was tricky, and the lack of water, and then. It's going to be a constant challenge, always. But that's fun. Yeah.
Convincing yourself?
No. It's always like new things. And I've listened to an interview from a great winemaker from California, Chardonnay winemaker, and then it's always like he said, and he's been making Chardonnay. He's been famous to make Chardonnay for like years and decades in California, and as the last minute of his interview, he says like it's incremental progress every year, and it's like if we stop learning in the winemaking and vineyard process, and I'm stopping to make wine. I mean, there's no point. We learn every year, always something new, always.
You talked early on about the combination of the vineyard, the wine, making the wine, selling the wine, the whole process of winemaking, how unique it is, and you've worked in all parts of that. Yeah. So tell me what appeals to you the most about your job. What is your favorite thing about being in the wine industry?
That's the prime. I love the three, but you cannot do three. I think you cannot. I think you can do. If you say there is a vineyard and the wine and the sales, you have to choose two out of the three. You cannot do the three. Only one person can. There is only one person in Oregon I think can do it.
And who's that?
John Thomas. That's it. He has 4 acres. He makes his wine. He sells it. I think he's the only one. And you know, it's amazing when you look at him and see like, wait, he has 4 acres or 5 acres and he makes 600 cases of wine, and he's been around for like 25 years and even more. So there's always things that are more appealing than others, but I think to me, the thing that I've learned here is like, it's like you know, I was able to like probably possibly shift in different direction when this winery as the winery grows, and I think I'm more comfortable just because of maybe my background, my experience, and the theory. But I'm way better here. I'm not saying I cannot sell wine. It's just more like I should be here, you know. But you know, I will help to sell wine, but it cannot be like 100% of my focus. We have There's people that do that way better than me on their job.
As you're looking ahead, you're still Lingua Franca is still pretty brand new, like you say, only 3 vintages in. What do you see for the future? What do you see like 10 years down the road here? You mentioned a tasting room. Is that something that?
Yeah, we're gonna we hired people here to as we grow, and then we're gonna build a hospitality center of some sort. Drive people here to us, and the future is, I don't know, man. We'll see. I think the challenge will be the really great things that can happen. It's I would like to be able to get all the fruits we have from this vineyard here. We sell a little bit of fruit, and then we buy fruit, and I would like to, at one point in the next 10 years, to arrive where we are 100% estate with between our vineyard here and between Bunker Hill, which is Chardonnay vineyards that we lease in Southside. And I think if we arrive to do that, I mean, that's for me, that's kind of, I would like to be there. It would be fantastic.
Is there any potential for more vineyard, more growth, more bottles, something different?
More bottles, more bottles we can. Always, we have room. More vital, maybe, that would be cool. I love to experiment. I really love to experiment things. So it's like, if I can, that would be great to introduce other varietals, but we'll see. Sometimes, I feel like in our society we just want to go too quick, and I think right now we're starting to see ourselves pacing in a great, for Lingua Franca, and I just think that we can take a big breather, look at where we are maybe for 1 or 2 years, and then just maybe go to the next step after. Because when you want to go too quick, sometimes you make mistakes. You don't think enough, I think, and there's one thing you cannot beat. You cannot beat nature timeline. You can't. You can't do that. Nature dictates how things should go, and sometimes when we want to go too fast, it's it's not good. So as far as Lingua Franca is that, and myself, I'm still young enough that my dream is to eventually have a vineyard or something of some sort, but it's okay. We'll see. I just need to people to stop raising their property prices right now. That would be great.
Eventually they'll start going down again, right?
Right. We'll see. We'll see. No, but it's an interesting. It's the reason why I'm saying that is, even though I find farming more complicated as I'm more involved into it, I think that there is deeply inside me, I'm I don't know if it's because I cannot do it in Burgundy and I can do it here, but every day change, because I also don't believe that we should plant more. I think there is plenty of vineyards here, and we should take care of the vineyard already here, rather than planting. But also, if I can plant, it's. I just don't want to disturb the environment. I think we've been doing a lot of, it was pretty hurtful for the landscape, and I think we should stop cutting trees, and and I've been respecting a lot what Mimi Castile is trying to embrace and talk, and also it's just makes so much sense. There is so many vineyards. We have so much fruit in Oregon. Why would we need to plant more? We should be in a good basis right now. Eventually, I hope.
So on that note, as you look ahead for the Oregon wine industry, what do you see as you, again, say 10 years in the future? What do you see happening here in Oregon?
I want someone to make a big Chardonnay winery. We need someone that makes a lot of Chardonnay. I just think it's such an amazing grapes. It works so well in Oregon, and I just want that to happen. I don't know who's going to do it. I just want it to happen. I just think it's cool because it's such a great varietals, and there is so much diversity. It's a grape that is it's a winemaker grapes. People are gonna kill me it's a winemaker grapes. You adapt a lot of things that happen in there. It's an adaptation to the cellar and what you do. Of course, there is some impact of the farming practices. Don't make me wrong, but it's just fascinating. I mean, think about champagne, or it's a good example. Like it's a wine with bubbles, right? It's Chardonnay. I mean, there is also Pinot Noir, but it's fascinating to. I want to see Chardonnay going into another direction. Mm-hmm. People tend to think that there is less attraction for Chardonnay in the market. I don't think so.
Feels like that's changing right now, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is very there's report that says that we are not selling as much Chardonnay in Oregon, in America. But I think it's not true. I think a lot of people are excited. I think we need. A lot of people are planting Chardonnay. They're just planting Chardonnay vineyards everywhere. So I think at one point there's going to be someone that's going to come and just do a reverse Pinot Noir winery and just do like 90% Chardonnay, 10% Pinot, or something like that. Maybe me one day, I don't know. I'm just kidding. No.
Any day now you can.
No, one day. No, but it's. I don't know. It's fascinating because once again, it's such a cool grapes, and I love making Pinot. Don't make me wrong, but I think it's harder to make Chardonnay. I think it's harder to make.
Why is that?
It's more detail oriented. I don't know if it's because I feel more comfortable making Pinot Noir. I was really never involved to make Chardonnay in Burgundy. Mm-hmm. And I was introduced to Chardonnay in Oregon, which is kind of interesting. But but by making more and more Chardonnay, I always it's always we face new challenges. Mm-hmm. And it's naked. It's like you press the grapes and the juice, and this is wine. It's like the Chardonnay is basically how much makeup do you want to put on it? Mm-hmm. That makes sense? It's basically like the way I see the grape. So you can do a very good job. It can be very ugly.
Sure.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what advice would you have for someone who wanted to join the Oregon wine industry today?
Which level? Every level possible?
Any level. Say someone coming out of college who wanted to join the industry.
Yeah, I think patience is very important. I think first of all, it's a great time to come to Oregon. The community is fantastic. It's been, I've been here for since 2013, and I've been absolutely amazed. I mean, the welcome here, the people, the mentorship from I don't know, I've seen you discuss to Ken and Erica, and I worked under Ian Birch, and I worked under Isabelle Meunier, and I worked so many great people. I'm very good friend with the Bergstrom family and Steve Dorner, and those people have been amazing to me. And this is a very welcoming industry. And people are challenging themselves all the time, trying to do the best, trying to question themselves. But if you go out of college and you want to make wine, it's just just think about the wine as a business too. Mm-hmm. It's an enterprise. People always forget. It's it's numbers. It's magic. I don't think it's an art. I think it's a craft. Mm-hmm. And I think that it's also a craft. And you farm something, you grow something, and you transform this thing that has a cost, and then you have to sell the product in order to make sure it works. It's a very intense industry too, because we discussed about it, vineyards and wine and cells. Mm-hmm. It's one of the only industry where you can be part of the three, and that's, I think, is very how can I say that? It's very attracting, but it also can be very dangerous. Mm-hmm. So patience and for people, and just make sure they know what they want to do, and stick to it for a while and be nice, being humble, trying to be humble. It's it's not easy sometimes. It's when you meet a lot of journalists and people like that, and they like your wine and etc. It's I get it. It feels good, but it's also like it's just wine. Just go home. I don't know. It's a very competitive industry where you always have to do your best, and doing your best is questioning yourself and always rethinking why I do that, how, and what's next, and
So that's all the questions that I have for you today.
Yeah.
Is there anything I should have asked you that I didn't? Anything we didn't cover that we should have covered?
I think it was pretty good.
Covered it? All
yeah.
right.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much
Yeah.
for being part of us today
Thank
and
you.
adding your story to the collection. And
Thank you very much.
we'll let you off the hook here.